Tintan Dialogue. I am Elisa de la Fuente, Research and Incidents Coordinator of the Social Science Center of Investigation, SICEPA, of the Departments of Social Science, Economy and the Faculty of Social Science of the Pontificia Universidad Católica del Perú. SICEPA is an interdisciplinary center specialized in anthropology, sociology, and political science and economics. I want to welcome everybody to the conference International Relations between China and Latin America, final activity of the first China-Latin America think tank dialogue. This dialogue was organized by the School of Government and Public Policies of the Center of Research in Social Science, SICEPA, the Academic Direction of Institutional Relations of the Pontificia Universidad Católica del Perú, the SinoLatam Forum on think tanks, Samcorp and Pricewaterhousecoopers. This dialogue has had as a central goal to promote and consolidate research networks between Latin American investigators and Chinese ones. In the last 2 days, we have worked to achieve these goals. This panel will analyze from different perspectives the relations between China and Latin America. It is confirmed by Professor Susu He, Executive Director of the Center for Brazilian Studies of ILASCAS. He is a doctor in international politics from the Graduate School of Chinese Academy of Social Science. Associate Professor of the Institute of Latin American Studies, ILAS, Chinese Academy of Social Science, CAS. A member of the Chinese Association of Latin American Studies and a permanent member of the Chinese Association of Latin American History Studies. Executive Director of the Center for Brazilian Studies of ILAS-CAS, ex-visiting scholar at Sao Paulo University from 2007 to 2008, BRCS Policy Center of Rio, 2012, and Fluminense Federal University from 2012 to 2013. He's published books, the book Brazil Race and International Order in July of 2012, and a series of academic articles on international relations of Latin America and the relations between China and Latin America. His research focused principally on Brazilian foreign policy, Latin American integrations, relations between China and Latin America, and also the BRICS cooperation. Then we have in the table Dr. Mercedes Jufre. She's Master of Arts in Philosophy and Political Science, sinologist. Her fields of specialization are China in the 20th century, politics, history and economics, Chinese cultural exchange, China's soft power, the influence of Chinese literature and philosophy on Paris Borges' writings. She's author of 3 books and over 25 peer-reviewed articles and book chapters. Her work has appeared in leading academic journals. Besides, she's invited as regular visiting professor at the Chinese universities of Nanjing, Fudan, Nanhai, Tianjin, at the Atlas Institute of Latin American Studies, CAS, Beijing, at the Shanghai Institute for International Studies, CIS. We have also with us Jorge Malena. He is a PhD in Political Science of the Argentine Catholic University. He is founding member of the Argentine Academy of Asian and African Studies, Councilor member of the Argentine Council of International Relations, lecturer of the Argentine Foreign Service Institute, and advisor of the National Committee for the Asia-Pacific Argentine Ministry of Foreign Affairs. His recent publications are, and I'm going to tell them in Spanish, El relacionamiento de China con América Latina y Argentina, significado de la Alianza Estratégica Integral y los acuerdos bilaterales, Buenos Aires-Cali, China y los frutos de 35 años de reforma y apertura económica en gigantes emergentes. We also have in the table to our Professor Javier Alcalde. He is from the Pontificia Universidad Católica del Perú. He holds a master's degree from the Universities of Sheffield and Southampton, UK, and a PhD in Foreign Affairs from the University of Virginia. He is an associate professor in the Department of Social Science of the Pontificia Universidad Católica del Perú and coordinator of the research group of International and Regional Orders, GIO. He has been visiting scholar at the University of Cambridge and Harvard and has taught in several American universities. In Lima, he has been professor and academic advisor of the Peruvian Diplomatic Academy. He has published several books. Each panelist will have 15 to 20 minutes for his presentation, and we will do it in the next order. First, Professor Susue will start, then Javier Alcalde, then Jorge Malena, and finally Mercedes Youth. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I want to express my thanks for the invitation for this forum. I think it's a very good opportunity to make to meet old friends from Mexico, also from Argentina. Also, it's a very good opportunity to meet some new friends Peruvian scholars. Yeah. So in my presentation, I would like to share what I think about the China SinoLatam Forum. Maybe everyone knows that this forum is a very new mechanism. Just was established in last year, 2015, in January. It was realized the fourth ministerial forum, China and SinoLatam. And so it is a very new mechanism. So I would like to talk about the 3 points. The first about the opportunity, also some driving factors of the China SinoLatam Forum, also about the China SinoLatam cooperation. And then I would like to talk a little about some challenges in our case for two-sides cooperation. And at the end, I would like to share with you my some opinions about how to prove the China SinoLatam cooperation in the future. Maybe we will talk very briefly about my opinions. I would like to leave some more times for Argentine friends, also Peruvian scholars, because the principal objective for our visit of being here to listen more from Latin America scholars on China-Latin America cooperation. First of all, firstly, about the opportunity and the driving factors, I think the most important thing for us to think about what about the foundation of China-Latin America relations. Regarding to the political relations, we can find that China has established a strategic relationship with non-Latin American countries. For example, in 1994, Brazil and China established a strategic relationship. Also, Brazil is the first country, not only from Latin America, but of the world all. The first country that has established this kind of strategic relationship with China. From then to nowadays, we established this kind of relationship also with Venezuela, Mexico, Argentina. In 2008, China and Peru also had this kind of relationship. We also have Chile, Ecuador, Costa Rica, Uruguay. So this means that we have a very solid political relations. And the economy relations, maybe everybody knows, is the very biggest achievement in last decade. From 2000 and 2014, the trade between China and Latin America increased 22 times. And nowadays, China is the second trade partner of Latin American region. And also, China is the first trade partner of Peru, Brazil, Uruguay, and Chile. And the second trade partner of Mexico, Argentina, Cuba, Costa Rica, Colombia, and Venezuela. And regarding to investment, we also found that the Chinese investment in Latin America increased very fastly in last 5 years. For example, in 2015, the Chinese investment in Latin America accounted to 29 billion. This number is more than the total credits from World Bank and also Inter-American Development Bank and also CAF. And today, China is Latin America is the second destination of Chinese global investment, and also China is a very important origin of FDI of Latin America region. So we can say the economic relations is very strong, especially during the last decade. And also, I would like to talk a little about the cooperation mechanism. It's a very important, significant that we have a lot of experience between China and Latin America to cooperate throughout some kind of mechanism. For example, we have strategic dialogue with some principal countries, just like Brazil, Argentina, Mexico, also Peru. This kind of dialogue mechanism is conducted principally by the Minister of Foreign Affairs. And we also have a high-level bilateral cooperation mechanism. For example, COSPAN, the total name is Brazil-China High-Level Coordination and Cooperation Committee. Also, we have a permanent committee between China, Mexico, China, Argentina, China, also China, Venezuela, and also China and the Caribbean region. And just like what we discussed yesterday, also today morning, China also signed an FTA agreement with some Latin America. Peru is the first country that signed this kind of agreement with China, and then we have Costa Rica, also we have Chile that signed this kind of FTA agreement, and also today we are studying the possibility to start an FTA negotiation with Colombia. And also China has a very active participation in Latin American Regional Association. For example, observer member in IDD, ALADI, also OAS, SEPA, and etc. And the second logic of China SinoLatam Forum, I think, is very important. Is the new trend of both sides global cooperation. We talked a lot today morning about that China's strategy to strengthen its trans-regional cooperation, just like one belt and one road. Also, we talked a lot about the AIIB, Asia Infrastructure Bank. So in last 5 years, the reason of cooperation between China and the outside region is increasing very fastly. Also, the same thing happened in Latin America. For example, Latin America region increased trans-regional cooperation, just like between UNASUR and Africa, UNASUR and the Arabic country, and also UNASUR with Asian countries. We also found that a very clear trend of the diversification process in Latin America, not only on trade but also on investment and foreign relations. I think maybe especially some special countries, just like Pacific Alliance member countries have a very clear intention to integrate in Asian production and the supply chain. And the third force driving force of China set-up cooperation is South-South cooperation. Especially in last decade, we can find that we have a new trend of South-South cooperation. The principal characteristic of this trend is that the cooperation has reached all dimensions of global governance. So China and Latin America, both sides is on rising. So the cooperation between China and Latin America is a very important part of this kind of this new trend of South-South cooperation. So the part one conclusion that is the establishment of China SinoLatam Forum is a reasonable result of the faster accelerated Sino-Latin American relation in recent years, but also result corresponding to the new trend of trans-regional cooperation and South-South cooperation. The solid foundation of Sino-Latin American relationship, the aspiration of strengthening cooperation, the new wave of global trans-regional and South-South cooperation are the factors explaining the rationalities of establishment of China SinoLatam Forum, but also the principal driving forces to push this mechanism to develop in the future. According to regarding to the challenges, also difficulties, I would like to mention some principal challenges. The first one is geopolitics in Latin America. Regarding this point, I think maybe China should learn more, should study more on Latin America, especially some factors. For example, the first is regional disputes. We know that Latin America is a very peaceful region, but we also found that there has still a lot of labor disputes, especially some kind of territory disputed. For example, Bolivia and Chile. So when Chinese investors come here, we should pay much attention to these issues. And the second is ongoing political changes. We can find that in last 2 or 3 years, here happened a very big political changes, especially from the left wing to right wing. Maybe the right wing in governance in Latin America is a good thing, but undoubtedly we need more time to adapt to the new situation. So it is also very important challenge. And the third is the U.S.-Latin America relations. Maybe we can find that in last 2 years, the United States and Cuba, the relationship is becoming more closer. Maybe the U.S. and the Latin American regions, maybe the relation also is changes. So it is a very important factor that China should pay much attention. And the fourth is the participation of other powers in Latin America. We found that not only China has established a forum with SinoLatam, we also found that some powers like European Union, also Russia, also Japan has also established this kind of dialogue mechanism. So we also pay much attention to how these outside powers participate in participation in this region. And the same challenge I would like to say, would like to mention is differences of Latin American attitude to China. We talked a lot, principally yesterday about the possibility to achieve a common agenda of Latin American region to China. So this is also very big challenge, because setup is the dialogue objective subjective of China. So we also worry about the capacity building of CELAC. So especially when we compared with China-Africa Forum, we can find that Latin American integration is staying a very different level with African integration. Also about another challenge is about the economic difficulties of both sides, especially about the trade goal that was announced in last year. Each said that in the next 10 years, the trade between China and Latin America should increase by 2 times. The number should achieve 500 billion US. But from this picture, we can find that a very different trend of China-Latin America trade is appeared. Unlike the last decade, during that period, the China-Latin America trade increased by more than 30%. But in last 2 years, the trade slowed down very fastly. So it's very difficult. It also is a very big challenge to achieve this trade goal. And also challenge of investment. Investment, it should be according to the investment goal. In next 10 years, the Chinese investment stock in Latin America should arrive 250 billion US dollars. This means that the annual growth should be 11.2%, but maybe the target we can achieve, because every day we can receive a lot of news related to Chinese investment in Latin America. But I would like to say that for Chinese companies, we have a lot of jobs. We have a lot of things to do to study this market, because Latin America is not a very easy market for Chinese investor. And the other challenge is the factor of countries not recognizing China. This means that these countries didn't have diplomatic relation with China, has diplomatic relation with Taiwan, especially in nowadays, because the political situation in Taiwan is changes. Maybe it's possible to produce some corresponding reaction in Latin America. And for the priority for China-CELAC cooperation, I would like to say that the most important to find a new engine, a new driving factor for China-Latin America economic relations. So maybe investment will be a very hot keywords in next few years. But according to the principal sectors, I think maybe in energy, resources, infrastructure, also agriculture sector should be very potential sectors for Chinese investment. And also very important, I would like to mention that is we have to push multi-channels public diplomacy, hence mutual understanding. Maybe some experience from China-Africa cooperation should be learned from to our cooperation between China and Latin America. For example, some program cooperation of think tanks, just like the event of today, also bridge of Chinese immigration community. Because we also know that Peru have a very large Chinese immigration community. Maybe these factors also can have Chinese investor do a better business in this market. Also, very important in education exchange and cooperation, and media exchange, think tank and scholar exchange, and also interaction between enterprise. And another one is a mechanism plus network, because China SinoLatam Forum is a new thing, but in particular in the initial period, we should also emphasize the mechanism, the bilateral mechanism, because it's a very good ways to resolve some interest divergence, also something like interest competition. So this is my presentation. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I am very pleased to be here and to have the chance to address you in this distinguished forum. I want to read a short paper I have prepared about what I think has been the dynamics of the last 2 decades of the changes between China and Latin America, and what I consider to have been a very exceptional period. And I'm going to give my views as to what I think is going to be in the future, where I can anticipate you. I feel that political scientists and international relations specialists are going to have a bigger role, because these relations are going to be much more politicized. This is not a negative view, it's just a view that tries to show the complexity that I think lies ahead in the relation between China and Latin America. So I'm going to read this paper. Relations between China and Latin America, from market opportunities to international political economy. We perceive that a period of instability, structural change, and superpower competition is developing in the world economy, and particularly in the Asia-Pacific region, following the end of the boom of Chinese growth, investment, and trade, 2003 to 2012. This boom significantly benefited China and a number of emerging economies, which sold commodities to and hosted investment from the PRC. The comparative stability of the former period produced in Latin America the image of economic relations with China as a relatively uncontentious issue area, characterized by clear market opportunities that could be tapped largely by means of conventional diplomacy and trade expertise. There were, of course, some concerns that a new central periphery system was being established, and that a small number of small or middle-sized countries of the region were becoming too close to China. But these issues seldom transformed into international or domestic tensions or crises. In the present stage, we foresee that the trade and investment relations of Latin American countries with China will become increasingly complex and politicized, to the point that they will tend to be linked with issues of higher politics, with important repercussions at hemispheric level, such, for instance, as military cooperation and the country's international position on human rights. At the roots of the approaching period of instability, we perceive that conditions in the Chinese economy have undergone major changes, and at the same time, the rules of the economic game, both at the global and regional levels, have become open for renegotiation between the two major international players, Washington and Beijing, prompting a new climate of geoeconomic and geopolitical competition. China is in the process of transforming its economy from an extraordinary reliance on exports and investment to conferring a major role to internal consumption. Similarly, the leading role of resource-intensive industries is being replaced by an emphasis on services. From 2007 to 2011, trade diminished from 68% to 50% of China's GDP. Still, China currently accounts for 40% of world GDP growth, and with the US contributing only 10%, and India 20%, according to recent data from the Institute of Defense and Security Analysis from India. New trade and investment opportunities related with China, while important, will not be as evident as in the past. They will increasingly have to be appraised and exploited, not only on the basis of insights on the workings of a colossal state capitalist machinery, but also in accordance with some established economic orientations and plans of the players. At the same time, both China and the US, directly or indirectly, will persistently try to induce regional players into policies and actions that will benefit their national interests and position vis-à-vis those of the strike. For instance, a particular bone of contention might become the degree of involvement that Latin American governments allow Chinese state-owned enterprises in their economies. Another major issue might be the influence of NGOs on public opinion targeting the labor and environmental practices of Chinese corporations. Specifically, we contend that the forthcoming period in the economic relations of China and Latin America will prompt the statesmen, diplomats, strategists, planners, trade and IR specialists, and political scientists to take a deep interest in a practical field that previously has been left largely to economists, or be generally addressed from a predominantly utilitarian or entrepreneurial viewpoint. We believe the most suitable approach for addressing China-Latin American economic relations in the new century is that of international political economy, a branch of international relations which examines the interaction between economic and political power, and between public and private players for the attainment of national and corporate interests. Among the many definitions of national power, one of the most important corresponds to the capacity of certain players to set group agendas and to structure the rules in various areas of international economic relations. In this perspective, you can see China's new role in Asia and the Asia-Pacific region, where its rising trade and investment position is empowering her to propose new paradigms, rules and practices which are vigorously contested by the hegemonic power. Perhaps the most suggestive example of China's emerging normative power in the world is the One Road, One Belt initiative, or Silk Road Economic Belt, connecting Asia, Europe, and Africa, a new paradigm for regional and interregional integration, and an attractive alternative to treaty-based regimes. 34 countries have already signed cooperation agreements with China within this initiative. In the trade and investment arena, the US is attempting to formulate or strengthen a series of international rules that limit the development and actions of state-owned enterprises, raise labor standards, allow the free flow of information, protect the environment, and defend intellectual property rights. Of special concern to Western powers is the imbalance created by the practice of Chinese state enterprises to buy competitors in high-tech sectors. The Trans-Pacific Partnership, TPP, and the Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership, TTIP, are meant to achieve the aforementioned aims. China, for its part, argues that these agreements have been negotiated to make emerging countries accept a highly liberalized trade regime or face exclusion from the regime. Beijing is propelling its own proposal, the Free Trade Area of Asia-Pacific, FTAAP, that eventually might lead to the formation of trade blocs. In the second part of this presentation, we will briefly review the evolution of Chinese relations with Latin America in the perspective of China's rise and its changed relations with the US. As we know, following Deng's economic reform, Chinese exports started to grow spectacularly in the 1980s, largely oriented toward the US and other industrial nations. But Western economic sanctions derived from the events in Tiananmen 1989, as well as the disappearance of the Soviet Union in 1991, put an end to the approximation of China to Washington and the West. The perception radically changed in Beijing to one of a threat to its regime, and was aggravated by tensions with Taiwan and the NATO bombing of the Chinese embassy in Belgrade in 1999. Accordingly, the Chinese ascent strategy was reoriented in the 1990s, attempting to diminish the importance of Western powers and toward South-South cooperation, beginning to actively pursue economic and political objectives in Asia, Africa, and Latin America. The financial crisis of 2008 further increased China's interest in developing countries by causing a reduction of Chinese exports to industrial nations, at the same time making China the country with the largest investment resources in the world. Chinese foreign investment has started to grow a few years before, in 2001, with Beijing's accession to the World Trade Organization. In 2009, Beijing published a diplomatic strategy that considered developing countries on the forefront of Chinese external relations and expressed Beijing's support to their aspirations in the international arena. 1 year later, in 2010, it became clear that China was improving substantially its trade relations with the South. Trade flow jumped 51% with Latin America, 37% with ASEAN, its main partner, and 33% with Africa. China's trade with Africa and Latin America flourished. However, the jump was much more significant in Latin America. In 2014, trade jumped from $15 billion to $260 billion. China has surpassed the US as a destination of Latin American exports. However, the most outstanding aspect of China's rise has been its ability to reconnect with Asia. Until the end of the 1970s, China was virtually excluded from Asia. Today, China is the engine of Asian development, enjoys a favorable image in the region, and is a key actor in Asia's busy multilateral agenda. China has become the center of a multinational production area in East and Southeast Asia. It has displaced the US as the main economic partner of South Korea, Japan, Taiwan, and the ASEAN countries. It has created two major development banks in the region. Washington did not watch passively China's progress in Asia. At the beginning of the Obama presidency in 2009, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton asserted that the US was back in Asia, following the low profile in the region of the Bush administration, and subsequently coined the term pivot to Asia, signaling a reorientation of US foreign policy to the region. Seeking to appease Chinese annoyance with its new policy, Washington renamed it Rebalancing Asia in 2012. Nevertheless, a number of Chinese specialists still consider it a containment initiative against Beijing, which reflects US fears in connection with its traditional interest and status in Asia. China published for the first time in 2008 a set of guidelines for its policies toward Latin America. Yet it was only after the launching of the US pivot in Asia that the assumption of Xi Jinping that Beijing began a new stage in its relation with Latin America. Chinese academics like you, 2015, consider that the new Chinese emphasis on Latin America is a reaction to the containment initiative of the US in Asia, and that Beijing's desires are not only to intensify economic and trade cooperation, but to generate a sphere of influence in a region where that may need to be the US backyard. We have already seen the number of trade agreements that China has in Latin America, the strategic partnerships. We know that Chinese foreign investment is relatively low in the region, but Chinese is a new actor in foreign investment in the world. By contrast to foreign direct investment, Chinese state banks have become, since 2013, the main credit suppliers of Latin American governments. In 2015, they have lent $29 billion, mainly for infrastructure projects, surpassing the amounts loaned by the World Bank and the IDB to the region. We have already seen the presentation of the distinguished predecessor. China has also increased its arms sales to the region, having military cooperation agreement with Venezuela, Bolivia, and Argentina, and generating interest in Brazil and Peru to negotiate similar agreements. Remarkably, the new presidents of Argentina, Macri, and Brazil, Temer, both of neoliberal orientation, have confirmed the continuation of the special relationship of the countries with China. While Macri has not ratified armed deals between the two countries, he recently signed a $25 billion package of Chinese credit for a number of projects. Our concluding thought is that from the beginning of the 20th century, with the displacement of Britain, the US has been extraordinarily successful in preventing any extraregional power from establishing a major presence in Latin America, the USSR and Cuba being a minor but significant exception. However, in the next few decades, we will witness a crucial test for the US position in the region, with the unfolding of a major Chinese challenge that will inevitably carry a strong impact on the foreign policies of Latin American countries. Thank you very much.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm also very glad to be here, taking part in this first dialogue for Chinese and Latin American think tanks. I wish to thank the organizers for inviting me. There have been 2 very fruitful days exchanging ideas, opinions with my colleagues, so I really wish that this kind of activities go on in the future. What I'm going to present is the view from China, even though I am not Chinese, and perhaps that could be helpful for you in order to see another approach to Chinese foreign policy and to Chinese efforts in Latin America. This was actually done in purpose in order to give you a few minutes of break. Have a little rest. Thank you very much for waiting. As I mentioned, I'm going to touch upon the topic of the role of Latin America in China's global strategy, and particularly I will go into which are China's interests, perceptions, and policies in the region. Firstly, to go from the general to the particular, China's national goal is what has been defined as rejuvenation, a term that perhaps sounds strange in English. In Chinese is Fuxing, which means to build a comprehensive national power, and which also means economic growth plus political stability. In the international realm, for China, the main goal is to keep a stable international scenario in order to achieve economic development. So foreign policy is a function of domestic goals. Which are the tools for the domestic arena? Well, the opening and reform policy in the international arena, the building of a harmonious world, and establishing a new political and economic order. And also the adoption of a big power mentality and a responsible power stand. Now going more to the particular, which is the ensuing policy towards the third world. Well, it's called the Go Out strategy, which means promote China's corporation, build supply chains in order to assure the access to badly needed raw materials. In this strategy, the role of Latin America is central because of the abundance of natural resources despite geographical, cultural, and political distance. With regards to perceptions, China perceives Latin America as a provider of raw materials like soy, crude oil, iron ore, copper, fish meal, a buyer of manufactured goods, cheap consumer goods mainly, but also beyond the economic realm, China perceives Latin America as a battlefront in the diplomatic recognition race with Taiwan. As it was said, 50% of the countries recognizing Taiwan are in Latin America and the Caribbean. And also, Latin America is perceived as an ally to build a new political and economic international order, because both sides are critical of the US. But also, we have to recognize that for China, Latin America is a complex ground to conduct business due to obstacles built by bureaucracies, unions, and of course culture, and a source of frictions with the US because Latin America is seen as Washington's backyard. With regards to the policies that China follows vis-a-vis Latin America, well, we have to recognize the economic, political, cultural, technological, and finally the military domains. With regards to economic trade, as it was said, last year more than $300 million US, investment $6 billion last year, loans mainly by national funds, and FTAs, as it was said, with Peru, Chile, Costa Rica, and another one with Colombia is coming. Also, we have to bear in mind the political aspect of the relationship. because China wrote in the year 2008 a white paper on relations with Latin America. They also conduct high-level visits, recognition of preferential status, like it was said, strategic partnerships, then consultation and cooperation in international issues, like in international organizations and joint commissions, participation in regional and international governmental organizations, like the Inter-American Development Bank, the Organization of American States, and also the China, Latin American, and Caribbean Forum. Also, we have to count upon contacts with local governments. They use very often the sister cities treaties, and also contacts with political parties. In the cultural and technological realm, there are several cooperation programs, like scholarships and establishment of Confucius Institutes. And in the military field, well, every year there are high-level visits among military authorities of both sides, military cooperation like donations and sales of equipment and weapons, and also there is Chinese peacekeeping mission in Haiti and also in Peru in November 2010. There was a joint exercise of humanitarian aid. Aim. Therefore, given these perceptions and policies, which are the consequences for Latin America of the growing relation with China? Well, in the political realm, of course, the use of the China card with the US to counterbalance a US preeminent position. Also, the deepening of the anti-US discourse, especially in the countries which are part of the Bolivarian axis, and distancing from Taiwan, like Costa Rica, which severed relations with Taiwan and established relations with the People's Republic of China. In the economic field, there is a diversifying of foreign partners beyond the US and Europe. There is a commodities export boom because China is the world's main importer of commodities. But also we have to recognize that there is a deepening of the primary goods export-based model, which affect, of course, the industrialization efforts in Latin America, and an increasing flow of Chinese manufactured goods in the local markets, which harms, of course, the local industry. In the cultural and ideological domain, there is a diversifying of sources of technology transfer. South-South cooperation finally becomes real, and there is a widening of the understanding of such an unscatterable culture like Chinese, although there are critics about the use of soft power. And finally, in the military realm, there are frictions with the US due to the suspicion of sales of Chinese weapons to Latin America. Well, I appreciate your patience, your Oriental patience. I had to go fast because I lost a few minutes, but of course, when we come to the Q&A session, we can discuss a little bit more, and you also have my email address in order to have some further contact in the future. Thank you very much for your attention.
Bueno, buenas tardes a todos. Yo soy la última, así que estarán agotados. Trataré de ser breve. I will try to be brief because I am the last one. So I will talk about middle class in China. And as China development model evolves from manufacturing and export-based growth to services and expansion in its enormous domestic market, its economic and political relationship with Latin America is rapidly as well going through political and economical profound transformations. China's expansion in Latin America, as part of what Dr. Malena and my previous partners have said, China has an explicit strategy of expansion and has had an important impact on the remapping of the Americas. This strategy is facilitated by the open regionalism being embedded by Latin American countries. As China and Latin America become closer and Chinese middle class grows, Latin American exports are expected to rise, particularly in consumer goods that cater to the increasingly cosmopolitan tastes of China's rising middle class. As I talk, I would like you to read this poem, and I will explain later why it's there. Besides, Chinese foreign policy has shifted from the principle of the time of Deng Xiaoping's era of keep a low profile and bide your time, and to one of an active engagement during Hu Jintao's time, and now with Xi Jinping, there's a really active also participation and power projection, more active than in previous times, especially in the international arena. And I put this poem here because I always try to remember and know a little bit about China. Not only China has to be observed from the economical and social point of view, but also from the cultural point of view. And though I don't know if you had the time to read this poem, the last line says, "Do not care if your fame will not survive." This is my personal message to most politicians, because we are building up here, the people who work on think tanks and also politicians, we are building that up for the next generations. Napoleon said that China is a sleeping giant, let her sleep, because when she wakes, the world will tremble. In the middle of the 18th century, China and India goods and services represented more than 70% of the world's gross product. So this is to have an idea what has happened in the last 300 years. China had a preeminent presence in the world and now is regaining that presence from 25 years approximately. At that time, the Chinese market, and we are talking about the 18th century, was bigger than all the European countries together at the moment. There was a philosopher, Italian philosopher, who says that life has corsi and ricorsi, circles, one that repeats themselves. In this schema, we have to take into account the growth of the Chinese middle class, which is really enormous. From 65 million in 2005 to 80 million in 2007, and the projection to 2020 is about 700 million. What does this mean to us? It's widening. It's reaching all China. It began to appear this middle class with more money, different kind of taste, different kind of aspirations in the coastal cities. As usual, the capital, Beijing, Shanghai, Tianjin, were the cities of the most important characteristics. This is happening in all Asia. The Asian middle class is widening. This is a projection of the global middle class by region. The red one is Asia, and you can see the Asia Pacific, how is it growing, and the difference it has compared to other countries or to other continents like North America, Europe, or Central and South America. There is an ongoing competition around the world to attract tourism, because middle class in China, the middle class in Asia, is related to a new search of new products. The ongoing world competition tries to attract tourism, capital, innovation, talents, industrial and fashion designers, technical know-how, innovators, proactive entrepreneurs, middle-class consumers, and if those middle-class consumers are Chinese, that's the better. This is what China is buying to South America. You see Brazil, Peru, Bolivia, the real metals, different base metals, Argentina, soil, cotton to some parts over there, also in Africa. It's always raw material and commodities. Now there is a new tendency. There's inside this middle class, there is a new group, the HMWIS. According to the Forum report, which is a very accurate report, it says that this acronym goes to high net worth individuals, people with $1 million or more who are investing in overseas property. Not only are spending much more in the domestic market, but they are also investing in overseas property. You see, for people like me who have been to China from the late 80s onwards, and I've repeated many times my travels, I had the opportunity of seeing the change of those people in the late 80s, which were dressed with a Mao suit, men and women alike, to passing through all the 90s, where China has been building up, to this moment when they are urban dwellers with cash, taste, and ambition. And there is an important issue here. They spend a lot. They are not so savings bound as their parents or grandparents were. They spend a lot of money. And in this group, as Mao Zedong said, women hold half the sky. So women have an important part in this renewal of the middle class, in this spending in the domestic market, which has, even though the China's exports have been reduced a little, the domestic market keeps on growing due to this new middle class, this Chinese middle class. We see the Chinese states, which is much more sophisticated. They are looking for luxury products. They have a cosmopolitan taste. They're looking also for new brands, not only, of course, the classical ones, but they are also looking for new brands in clothes, in cars, in everything. And as the urban demand grows, you see that China is on top of this urban demand. This is related to infrastructure, to the kind of households they live, to the life they live. They travel a lot more. You can see, if you travel around the world, you will see Chinese tourists everywhere, taking pictures and observing the world. Chinese people did not travel too much up to, let's say, 10 years ago. Now they are traveling and you can see Chinese tourists everywhere. And in this chart, you can see the middle class, which is the lightest of the blues, which has 5,351 approximately is their earning. The middle class will be about, low middle class will be about 3,351, and the other class is lowest middle class will be 3,300 approximately annually after taxes. You can see here the FDI inflows from China to Latin America from the 1990s to 2013, how it has increased enormously per country. I will also say that they're waiting for wealth because most of Chinese households are joining the middle class, most of them in the country coast, as I said before. But China's economic future depends on the rise of inland cities such as Xinjiang, which is the farthest province of China, where growth has lately slowed. We can divide the Chinese cities into tiers. We say the first tier are the coastal cities, the second tiers are a little inside the territory, and the third and fourth tiers, those belong to the deep China, profound China. This luxury demand and tourism is so important that in a luxury store in the United States, it's a chain store called Bergdorf Goodman. They already have, from many years now, as in Chanel, as in Louis Vuitton, as in many others, they ask for vendors with the dominion who can speak Mandarin, who can speak the Chinese language. So it's important to take that into account when you are thinking of offering services to the Chinese. You have to have people fluent in both languages. What do we sell to China? I say we, but the chart here shows the relationship between Brazil and China, which are the main partners in South America. Then it comes also with Chile. But the case of Brazil is interesting because 38% that Brazil exports is soybeans, 25% iron ore concentrates, 12% is petroleum oils from bituminous minerals, crude, no elaboration here. Then 5% chemical wood pulp, soda, sulfate, non-coniferous. And there are small proportions of something else. So you can see there's commodities and raw materials are the main exports of all Latin America. Then we can ask ourselves, is this a win-win relation, or must Latin American countries make adjustments to ensure that China takes part in the region's positive transformation? I would like to quote here South Korean economist, which is Ha Jong Chang, who has another theory. He says that when a developing country is going up, is developing, as China has been doing for many years, when it reaches the top of the ladder, it has two options: to help others go up the ladder, or to kick the ladder and remain on top. So we expect that China will not pick up the ladder and will help us to go up as she does. Then let's present here what can Latin America sell to China, other than commodities, of course. This is the main issue. When we are talking to people, businessmen, we are in forums, when I give my courses on selling to China and protocol courses and all that, the main question is what can we sell them? Of course, we are not going to sell them plastic toys, for instance. We have to think with intelligence, taking into account this new middle class, what are their tastes, what they're looking for, and so we have to think of luxury issues. Our ambassador in China, Dr. Escuela, who was at the Cari Institute a few days ago, told us that the main things that Chinese want to buy from Latin America should be related to luxury products. Like what? High quality textiles with design, with added value, because China has some nice textiles, but they don't have textiles. Chinese fashion is not nice, and they import all their designs from Italy and from Korea. You know that Korea is, and Seoul is to Asia, what Paris and Milan are to Europe and the world. So they import from Seoul, which has very good designers. What China lacks is design, so you should take this into account. Products related to cleaning industry and laundry, because they have very few products related to this item. High quality leather articles. They have leather, they have a nice leather, but the design of the leather, of the bags and suitcases is not nice. So we have to take that into account. Art. We are buying art. Chinese wealthy people from middle class are buying paintings, are buying sculptures all over the world. So this is a niche, a gap for South American and Latin American artists to export their goods. That's where our embassies should be acting. That's where the Chinese Latin American think tanks should be agreeing. Different services, know-how, baby products, baby milk, products for elderly people, green know-how technology. They are very concerned on environment, so they would like to receive any products that are energy efficient and are also protecting the environment. Delicatessen as wines. Here Chile has been ahead of the rest of the countries of Latin America because they are selling wines from a long time ago. Fish preserves. We export from Argentina fish, but it's raw fish. Zero elaboration. They should be prepared in fish preserves. Organic food, cosmetics, and whitening creams. Chinese women are very interested in keeping her skin white, so whitening creams could be a good opportunity to export. Services related to fashion and beauty industry, but we have to think in third and fourth tier cities, in the deep China, never think in exporting maybe to Shanghai or Beijing or Tianjin or Guangzhou. You should think in the deep cities inside the provinces of China. Trendy products, as I told you, so Latin America should take Korea's place in fashion industry. And besides Latin American products, Latin American fashion is very good and cheaper than Korea. And one thing that you should take into account, everybody should take into account, is colors, packaging, etc. This means that you have to make research of the Chinese market. Because I remember a very well-known film of coffee in Argentina that exported coffee and wrapped up the packages of coffee in white. White in China means death, so nobody bought the coffee. They had to claim again all the production. You have to know these little details because it is important. That means to know protocol, to know how to manage Chinese codes. Another important thing is to align with Chinese government priorities, to have a partnership with Chinese firm and to adapt and not try to impose. Whatever you export to China must be adapted to Chinese taste, which is not the same as South American taste. Finally, I would like to insist on this aspect thinking about my good Chinese friends. Because you see, the key words must be understanding and equilibrium. I have read many journalists saying that when China is growing, they call China a menace. And when China slows its growth, they cry that China is losing control or it's lagging behind its target. So I can understand that for my Chinese friends, this situation sometimes must be very difficult. China, I can tell you, is neither hero nor menace. We simply need to understand each other and develop win-win situations. Academic and cultural exchanges are one of the main ways to achieve this. So I would like to insist on this because I know it is difficult for the Chinese because when they are growing they call them a menace, and when they are relenting their growth they say that they are losing control. So this is a general idea about how the growth of Chinese middle class can help this new market niche of Latin American exports. Thank you.
Thank you very much to all of you. I would like to ask you if you have any questions about what we have just heard. No, then we can conclude the think tank dialogue here in Peru. Thank you very much for your time, for your attention, and I hope to see you again soon.
Go with